Sunny and 39. Saturday, sunny and 37, cooling off to 25 on Sunday, partly cloudy and 25 Monday, then a sunny top of 28 for Tuesday. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Peter Godfrey, talking Adelaide on 1395 5AA.
Just coming up to 6 minutes past 5. Do you want another temperature? Still 27 degrees. Let's see if it's any cooler over in New Zealand and find out what else is happening over there, including which of our former Prime Ministers is visiting the country. Selwyn Manning with us, editor of EveningReport.nz. G'day, Selwyn.
Yeah, g'day, Peter. How are things?
Oh, hot, in a word.
Hot. You must be up in the 40s, I hear.
Yes,
in some places.
42 in the city yesterday in Adelaide. 42.4 it was at 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
Do the roads start to melt? You know, the tar?
Not often. Every now and then you hear of one happening. Not a lot. Remember when I lived in...
Get sticky at all?
No, I don't think so. I mean, somebody might correct me on that.
Sorry, I'm talking over you.
That's all right.
Just in New Zealand, I noticed you guys must put something in your roads, you know.
I wonder whether there is.
Someone knows that, knows about what that is, because over here, if it gets, a couple of really hot days, and we never get up to those temperatures, the tar seal on it gets really gooey.
Yeah,
You'll see it on the tight bends on the roads, up in the hills and things, and the trucks going around it and just tearing it up. Yeah.
I've seen it happen elsewhere. Years ago I lived in Orange in New South Wales, in central western New South Wales, and it's fairly high elevation there, and it gets quite cool in winter, and summers are quite mild. But when I was there, we had a little bit of a hot spell, and the road was doing that, and they had sort of water trucks driving around some of the streets, pouring water on the roads to cool them off a bit.
Just to get that down. Yeah, that's something that popped to mind, because those kind of temperatures are just off the radar, and those have followed rain, as I understand it, for you guys. Those temperatures.
Yeah, Sunday and Monday, it was just, it wasn't, heavy, but it was just constant. And then we're into 42, 41, 42 degrees here, and a few more days of it, and then back to 25 degrees on Sunday. So we don't know.
Sounds very civil and very, very, very good, Peter, this 25 degrees. From a Kiwi's point of view, that's about the limit here. I'm over here looking out there, Peter, doing the old Manning weather forecast.
Okay, stick your head out the window and
the head out the window. There's a little shower of rain, looks like it's about to. There's a few spits coming down, and grey, steely skies, not too flash out there in Auckland City at the moment, Peter. But it's been an overnight low. It's cooler last night, right down overnight to around about 12 degrees in Auckland, actually. But the overnight low is going to lift up to 16 tonight, apparently, and a high during the day. Bear in mind, it looks like it's going to be a bit of showers around the place, of 23 degrees. So that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
We had warmer spells early in the week, but nothing near the 30s. It was just around that 26 degrees, maybe 27 if you're out of the sea breezes. I suppose a lot of this is down to those sea breezes, with the Auckland in particular being very exposed to the Tasman Sea on one side and very exposed to the Pacific Ocean on the other side. So it's very narrow part of the island. Get down further into the country where it's wider and there's bigger land masses, and you're pushing up over the 30s and things like that. The Wairarapa Valley, very, very dry at this time of year. That's down just north of Wellington. But certainly up here the temperatures aren't too flash, Peter. But that's this summer, isn't it?
Indeed. I'm just looking through some of the weather observations for around the state. Port Augusta, 46 degrees yesterday.
Yeah. There wouldn't be much growing there after that, would there?
Yeah, no, probably not. Phew, I wish I hadn't seen that now. It's making me feel even warmer. Anyway.
What kind of temperatures did the Barossa?
Barossa is often a little bit milder, or can be a little bit milder, but only by a degree. Actually, what did we get there? Nuriut in the Barossa yesterday, 39.7.
Okay.
And 24 degrees at the moment. So
wow.
little better. Enough to send you out for a nice, refreshing Sauv Blanc, perhaps.
Sounds like it's something with some ice in it. Oh, imagine that. You know. But some people will cringe over this. My sister, she likes wine, but she always puts ice in it.
It's often a debate here as to whether or not you should do that.
Oh. I kind of think, I suggested to her, why don't you put some grapes in the freezer of the same variety kind of thing, or take the grapes out when they're frozen and use those.
That's a good idea.
She said, no, I don't know about that. She's into a routine as my sister, I think.
I suppose if the ice as it melts, it dilutes it a bit so you can drink more. Maybe there's a method in the madness.
She enjoys it and doesn't want to get plonked out, I suppose.
Yeah, fair enough.
Or as we would say, munted, Peter.
Munted. That was our new word the other week. Munted.
It was, yes.
There we go. Anyway, on to other things in your part of the world. Your finances at the moment, we're going to talk more on that shortly, but the
yes.
Kiwi dollar?
Yeah, the Kiwi dollar is sitting at 73.1 cents to the US, Peter. If you look down to the Australian, it is sitting at 95.7 cents. So if you turn that around, if people from your end of the world are coming across the ditch to New Zealand, you're looking at, just zooming down to the New Zealand currency here, they push us way down there. Yeah. So you're getting about an extra 4 cents to your dollar. It's $1 for $1, 04.4. So, 4.4 cents more than what we're getting, Peter. So a little bit of it, by the time the currency exchanges, you're just about getting dollar for dollar.
Dollar for dollar, yeah, exactly, probably.
Yeah. But, that's pretty close anyway. It's pretty close. So when we're talking figures, in our bulletin, when we talk a little bit of economics, perhaps, bear that in mind. It's not too far away.
All right. And what are some of the stories making headlines from some of your news sites?
Yeah, New Zealand Herald here, the biggest one in the country. It's leading with former Prime Minister John Key. And the quote, Max didn't want me to go, end of quote. Now, Max is his son.
Oh, okay.
Featured here as if he was one of the Kennedy clan, and, he always was getting slaughtered in social media over here. But Max, there's a lot of speculation that John Key dipped out because he didn't want his son to go through all of this kind of being in the spotlight kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But, it sounds like he's saying, no, Max didn't want me to go. So there you go, Peter. That's the New Zealand Herald, biggest newspaper in the country, is leading with that.
With that one.
There's also, next one in line is Kiwi may face the death penalty in the United States. This is a former Auckland Grammar, which is a very prestigious school. He's a former student of Auckland Grammar, and he's been charged with first-degree murder in the United States after an alleged armed robbery. And there's a bit of speculation there that if he is proven to be guilty, or he's found to be guilty, I should say, he may face a death penalty there. So that's big. Then there's, of course, Donald Trump's always in the headlines these days, isn't he? So Trump, in the quote here, courts seem to be so political. End of quote. I guess everybody knows what he's on about there.
Yes.
That's New Zealand Herald. If we go across to Fairfax's stuff.co.nz, and it is saying it's getting stuck into Wellington's civic situation there. It's saying 365 days, there are 438 delays, is the headline, that's talking about Wellington CBD being crippled by crashes and breakdowns, that the roading is just not up to it, that there's all sorts of problems. And this is remember the earthquake that occurred in November here in New Zealand, 7.8 magnitude quake, and that hit just north of Christchurch in a place called Kaikoura. And Wellington was given a big shake-up there, and these delays and things like that are, getting worse and worse due to some of the infrastructure kind of breakages and things. Also, yesterday, the Inland Revenue building in Wellington, which immediately after those quakes, people were evacuated out of that, and then they thought it would be okay. Yesterday, all staff of Inland Revenue were evacuated out of their offices, out of the building. The building was said by engineers to no longer be safe, Peter. So those kind of things are still happening down in Wellington. It's got its challenges for sure. Second in Fairfax's headlines on the stuff.co.nz site is England is as good as the All Blacks.
Ooh.
There you go, shock horror for the Kiwis, Peter.
Ooh, okay.
There's been a bit of this, actually, seeping into the media. It seems to be a narrative that's coming up, saying to Kiwis, don't be too complacent, don't gloat about your wins and your rugby there, because England is looking like it could do... I'll tell you what, Peter, Kiwis, okay, Australia and New Zealand got our competitive streaks, haven't we?
Yes.
No one likes losing to the English in rugby.
No.
Or any sport, do they?
No. And they've got, what to say there, they've got a 15-test winning streak, the English.
Yes,
So
15-test winning streak. So the All Blacks can't crow on that because they lost to Ireland, of course, in a game up in Chicago. So that, I think it was 18 winning test streak that the All Blacks had was stopped in its tracks at that. And that's still the record, but England is lapping at its heels there. And then it's the next headline down, it's Trump, but on a different kind of subject, and it's saying Trump rides to Ivanka's rescue, and apparently it's something about a department store chain being unfair to his daughter, Peter, and that's making the big news in New Zealand. Radio New Zealand, a little bit more staid on this one, is a bit more solid. Renters stay put as price rents soar, and it's about Wellington renters staying in the same flats for longer amid soaring prices, putting pressure on the number of rentals on offer. So that, and it also looks down. If you look at Roll Paris, of course, is making headlines around the world, cleared of 3 sex offences. Those are the new ones that he was facing, of course, most recently.
Yeah.
So
All right. There's plenty of things there. Let's get on to a few other things. Now, you're hosting at the moment one of our former Prime Ministers. He's in your country, Mr. John Howard.
Mr. John Howard, yes, he popped up in Wellington yesterday, Peter. He is going to be, he attended the first sitting of the New Zealand Parliament yesterday, and there's a photograph in the New Zealand Herald heralding this around the place, and it's saying, in the photograph, it's got Labour leader, the New Zealand Labour Party leader, Andrew Little, sitting there having a very intimate and close chat with Mr. John Howard. So there you go. Obviously, he's not just chewing the fat with the Nationals over here, which is probably, I suppose, the Nationals are the equivalent to the Liberals over here, so just a bit of a name difference there. And he's been sitting there in the debating chamber while question time was on, the first one for the session. Now, the reason he's in New Zealand is he's the key speaker at a Australian High Commission black tie event, which is being held, I think, tonight.
Okay.
And he is quite an interesting character from New Zealand's point of view. He didn't want to speak to any media, so there was, he just no comment kind of thing. No, I'm off duty. It was his comment there to New Zealand media when they were questioning him about what he thought. Yeah, I'm off duty. So a bit of humour there, not quite as humorous or barbed perhaps as Paul Keating's wit, but he was certainly getting there. And, he's remembered a lot, not necessarily for the good things, Peter, over this side of the ditch, because of the changes to entitlements for Kiwis that had made Australia their home. Particularly in the area of, a lot of Kiwis kind of thought it just was not fair, in the sense where Kiwis, even if their children were born in Australia, so therefore you'd imagine that they'd be Australian citizens, etc., were not entitled to the privileges that other people, well, other Australians that been there for generations, of course, were able to tap into, and that's in the education and health areas, and if you've got disabilities and things like that. So obviously it was fiscally driven, and John Howard has created that back in around 2001. But his relationship, irrespective of all that, with their leaders when he was in, like Helen Clark was pretty much the one right through his time. And they got on okay. There was an incident once where Helen Clark was banged up at, I think it was the Melbourne airport. There was something there, and she was very upset, and he wasn't too friendly.
Wasn't too good. Okay.
Wasn't too friendly about that, but generally not too bad, I suppose, if you look at it over the scheme of things. Quite regarded as far as his political nous and also his stamp on the Pacific during those times. So yeah.
Well, look after him while he's there.
Definitely will.
All right. Now, you've spoken often about issues with housing affordability, particularly in Auckland. Warnings raised by your new Finance Minister in regard to for mortgage holders and possible interest rate rises.
Yeah, that's right. So New Zealand's Finance Minister Steven Joyce, he warned yesterday that the home mortgage holders in New Zealand, they should be prepared for interest rate increases. Now, he's not suggesting that they're off the radar or spiking, but certainly incrementally nudging upwards. And remember that people haven't got a lot of Vegemite in the sandwich when it comes to spare cash, if you know what I mean,
Yes.
with the costs of houses and the amount of affordability. So Stephen Joyce he's saying there that the signs that the overcooked residential housing market, particularly in Auckland, Peter, have eased or are easing, and the rate of house price increases has slowed. But he was saying also that the house price proportion of mortgage to the household income ratio. Does that make sense there? So the price of the house to the amount of mortgage that's on there and the amount of the household income. Now, on that scale, those ratios are problematic, meaning that, the mortgages are just so high, there's not a lot of equity in the house, but your wages are only just kind of meeting it. Now, those in Auckland in particular are on that affordability scale, they're way off the radar. They're in the unaffordable areas on average here in Auckland. So he is saying here that if the mortgage rates mortgage interest rates climb, many families may find they cannot afford to pay their mortgage payments, and of course that will have a devastating effect on the flow of money, etc., in the economy. Joyce said that the Reserve Bank in New Zealand is expected to hold the official cash rate, which determines the fluctuations in the floating mortgage rates. It's supposed to be keeping it at 1.75 for the next couple of announcements in the next few months. But he said that the market has already factored in that the Reserve Bank will increase the OCR sometime later in the year, indicating that there is a bit of upward pressure on interest rates there. He's saying overseas bonds, they're already seeing an increase in the bond interest rates, and in the United States, money is becoming a bit more expensive to borrow, and of course that starts nudging up the environment. So this will have crossover effect, no doubt, right across the Australasian region, in the sense that if mortgage interest rates are starting to creep up on the floating rate here, you'd see that most likely occurring in your country as well.
Yeah, well, our Reserve Bank met this week and kept ours on hold as well for the time being, 1.5%, our official rate. Yep. So slightly below yours, but...
Yeah, so it's a delicate time, and obviously some of the period of the hot growth has cooled on this side of the ditch. I'm not too sure about over on yours with Sydney in particular. And
still growing, still increasing, not at a freight train rate, not quickly, but everything's still going up here too in Adelaide.
Yeah, so over here it was slightly different. So Adelaide's experiencing the same as well, percentage-wise. So over here, the government did not do some of the regulation relating to curbing the overseas investment into residential homes. I understand that in Australia that new homes were okay for overseas investment, but existing residential homes had some regulations around it. Yeah. New Zealand government didn't do any of that. What it did do is it made it difficult for Kiwis to basically buy the homes by making the LVR, or the loan-to-value ratio, around 30% equity or deposit needed for a first home buyer. So, it was pretty steep for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a lot of cash.
Yeah, a lot of cash when your average home in Auckland particularly is over $1 million now.
Unbelievable. What's it like in Wellington? Is it similar there with the prices? Are they as astronomical as Auckland, or?
They're not, but they're going up faster than what you would expect the market to do.
Yeah.
You probably heard that headline earlier on relating to Radio New Zealand's headline there about rent. Staying in the rental homes longer because of the upward pressure to the prices, and that's all indicative of the housing market actually increasing there. So while Auckland is cooling, we're finding that investors are actually spilling out and putting their money into the other cities like Wellington, and other ones like the Hawke's Bay, where that cricket test didn't happen last week, and Tauranga, of course. Those cities are going up and ahead of market expectations. So it's not all over yet as far as getting the solutions on the table. The government's still got big problems here, and obviously housing and the cost of housing and homelessness as a consequence of those costs is going to be the big ticket items for this election year as the Nationals are trying to find solutions that will work. And it's just clearly just is not a matter of supply, and forget about the demand element.
And you mentioned the cricket, so we better go there.
Only briefly.
The Chappell-Hadlee ODI international. So the second game, that was a washout. Torrential rain, was it?
Yeah, for a while there, and the ground was just not right, Peter. Kiwis are very embarrassed about that, and there's been a lot of finger pointing.
So you should be.
As they should be at the local McLean Park in Napier, and the council there for not coming through and making sure they're investing in the turf. So it got all soggy, basically, after some big rain, and it shouldn't have ever have occurred. Apparently the groundsman's pretty good at his job.
Yeah.
But they're talking now that they'll have to dig the whole lot up, and they may even lose the right to actually hold the one-day internationals against South Africa over in about a month's time. So
right, okay.
It's serious stuff there, and unfortunately that game had to be called off. The second on the Chappell-Hadlee one-day international series with you guys.
But congratulations to the third game, and you took out the series.
Game, the third game and winning the series. I mean, you've got to crow about that if you're a Kiwi, because it just doesn't happen that often. So I'm crowing about it here, Peter, but it's a bit of a reminder that, you can have your wins and you can crow about those, but you can't gloat, because, while we beat in the series at home, New Zealand's done very well. It's record wins, actually. It's never done so well in home series ever in the history here. But this summer, it beat Pakistan, beat Bangladesh, now it beat Australia. And that sounds pretty good from the side of the ditch, Peter. But you can't gloat. The Kiwis now got to sharpen their focus and take on South Africa in a big tour. It is. It starts with a 2020 game. Only in about just over a week's time, and then the next day of that's a one-day internationals. It's a heap of one-day internationals, and then a solid three-tester series. So that goes right through to the end of March, and hopefully none of the grounds will be wet
soggy.
And cause them to be called off. It's a great summer of cricket, Peter. Really good.
We'll send some of our warm weather over to dry it out if it is.
No, I should say, some people will say, yeah, but you didn't have your Mr. Smith on the side over here. He had time off. He didn't come over to New Zealand for that one. So
that's the answer. All right, Selwyn, thank you for joining us this morning. Have a great week, and we'll catch up with you again next week.
Okay, Peter.
All the best. Selwyn Manning in New Zealand, editor of EveningReport.nz.
1.1 million young Australians are living in poverty. What will their new year at school be like? How do they feel in a hand-me-down uniform that doesn't fit? Without a new school bag or the extra learning support they need to keep up at school? The Smith family asks you to think about the 5,941 Australian children that are waiting for help right now. This year, please sponsor a child less fortunate than yours and make a real difference. Visit thesmithfamily.com.au.
Dave Potter Honda's exclusive 4-day sale is on now, with exclusive offers across a selected range of new Hondas, including free 5-year warranty, free 5-year roadside assistance, free registration and CTP insurance. Don't miss it. Exclusive deals like this don't last, so hurry into Dave Potter Honda before time runs out. DavePotterHonda.com.au, South Australia's #1 and Australia's most awarded Honda dealer. Dave Potter Honda.
See history in the making and be there when Port Adelaide play in Shanghai May 14 this year. Phil Hoffman Travel has a choice of packages starting from just $849